Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 244. Haha. My background are acting, film production, directing, and I've studied them for many years. Keep in mind that you need many skills when you are starting any film project related to real life. Tommy Wiseau.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's episode is brought to you by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. Today's show is also sponsored by Studio Unknown. Studio Unknown is a crack team of audio post professionals known for quality sound on any indie budget. Whether you need a lush surround sound mix or a quick festival submission pass, Studio Unknown can help you with all of your post-sound needs, from sound design and mix to Foley, ADR, and even a custom score. Contact Studio Unknown and mention the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, and you'll get 50% off one day of ADR or 10% off your complete post-sound package. Just go to studiounknown.com. You guys are tearing me apart! I'm sorry, guys. This is going to be a special episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. As you guys know, I am a fanatical fan of Tommy Wiseau's cinematic masterpiece, The Room. And I had the absolute pleasure of meeting one of the actresses that worked in The Room, Robyn Paris, who was Michelle in The Room. And I met her at Sundance and really just started geeking and fanboying out with her and started asking her all sorts of questions about The Room, about Tommy, about how much the disaster artist was real, all sorts of stuff. And I said, you know what? You just got to come on the show. You've got to come on the show. I want to talk to you about the show. And then she also told me that she's now a filmmaker, and she's been a filmmaker for a while. And she created a series, a mockumentary series called The Room Actors, Where Are They Now? And it's an extremely funny series. She's gotten 4 episodes done already. And she takes all the original cast, or most of the original cast of The Room, and just does really fun mockumentary stuff with it. They launched on Funny or Die and on YouTube, and the reaction was insane. It went kind of crazy. So they have, I think, 10 or 12 episodes they're trying to get made, and they have a current Kickstarter going on right now, which I will leave in the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/244. But we really just got into all sorts of fun talk about The Room, about film production, what she saw behind the scenes of how the worst movie ever made got made, and the truth behind it, because she was there firsthand. It's educational, it's funny, it's entertaining. It's a really fun episode, guys. And I generally don't bring anybody on the show unless there's some value for you guys. But this is an episode that is not only valuable because you get the behind the scenes of the worst movie ever made, but it's also just so fun to listen to. And if you are a fan of The Room, sit back and enjoy some really juicy information about how this movie was made. If you guys watch The Disaster Artist and are a fan of that movie, you will definitely enjoy this episode. And then we also talk about her filmmaking and how she's making it as a director and moving forward in her career after The Room, and how you deal with being in the worst movie ever made. And if, by the way, if you guys have not seen The Room, you got to get a group of friends over and watch The Room. You just have to do it. Like, while I was shooting on the corner of Ego and Desire, it just started coming up. The Room just kept coming up because The Disaster Artist was hot at the time and during award season. And I literally, one of the nights that we were shooting, I just grabbed everybody together and we rented The Room and watched it, the whole crew. And I was the only one who had seen it before. And it was just so amazingly fun to watch. It is so bad that it's kind of like a star imploding on itself and turning into a supernova of just awesomeness. It is so good. It's so bad. It's so good. I can't explain it anymore. You just have to experience it. But if you want to get a little bit about how this thing was made, please enjoy my conversation with Robyn Paris. I would like to welcome to the show Robyn Paris. Thank you so much for being on the show, Robyn.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alex.
It's a joy. It's a pleasure. I'm giddy to have you on and talk about a project I'm sure you're tired of talking about by this point in your life.
Well, I know I can't escape it, so I might as well embrace it and have fun with it.
You know, it for everybody who's isn't aware, anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I am a raving The Room fan. I am fascinated with the movie, and Robyn and I met at Sundance this year, and we actually Robyn is in the movie a little bit. If you want to talk a little bit about our movie, the one we did together, we could talk a little bit about that before we jump into The Room.
Sure.
We're shooting the party scene, and lo and behold, Robyn is there, and my producer comes like, Robyn Paris, the actress from The Room, is here. She wants to be in your movie. I'm like, no, she's not. There's no possible way that she actually is here. And he's like, no, she is. There she is. I'm like, oh my God, we have to write a scene for her right now and put her in the movie if she wants to be in the movie. So how did you, what was, from your perspective, because I talked to, because that whole movie, On the Edge of, and for everyone who doesn't know, it's on the corner of Ego and Desire, my new film. That's such a blur to me, the whole process, because it was done so quickly. From your perspective, how did you get introduced to the film? How did you say, hey, I'll be in it? And the whole experience. So from your perspective, I just want to know how you felt about it and how you got into it, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a blur for me too, because it was like 1 a.m.
It was.
Or later.
It was 1 a.m. at Sundance, right?
And we were at a party at Sundance, and I was just talking to a few people, and they were saying that you were doing this film and that you were in the next room shooting some scenes. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then somebody mentioned that somebody you guys had recently seen The Room the night before.
We literally, the whole crew sat down and saw The Room. I was the only one who had seen it before. And the experience was, as you can imagine.
Yes. I mean, yes, I get it. I love The Room like a fan. I love seeing it. It's so crazy. It's so funny. Uh-huh. So they mentioned you had just seen The Room, and that there had been a scene in your movie where one of the main characters talked about how The Room was his favorite movie. Mm-hmm. And that, somebody said, wouldn't it be funny if you were in this movie and you just showed up? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know what you want me to do. Right. I'm just here dancing, having a few drinks. So if you need me to be in the movie. And next thing I know, they went and I think they talked to you. Uh-huh. Then I talked to you. And then about 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, we were shooting the scene, I think.
Something like that. It seemed like that. I think it even was a little bit more than 15 or 20 minutes, because from the moment that they said that you wanted to be in the movie to the point when we got to you, it's probably an hour. Okay. It was just because we were shooting one of the biggest scenes of the movie, and it was and we were battling drunks, and it was trying to get them out of the shots, and it was insane. It was.
I don't know how you did it. I'm amazed that you shot that movie in the middle of that party, because it was really loud. There was a lot of dancing, tons of drunks.
It was tons of drunks. I was battling off drunk actors that I would recognize who will remain nameless. Other people in the industry that were just, hey man, you're making a movie. I was like, it was insane. And it had no security to block everything off. So it was just trying to, the funniest thing is that we were shooting one of the scenes, and literally as I yelled action, I turned around and there must have been 20 people with iPhones recording it. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys are all industry. Are you kidding? You've never been on a set before, let alone a set with 3 people. It's not like we're not on the set of Avengers. This is not that impressive, guys. I don't understand. But 1:30 in the morning when you're drunk and you see a camera and some lights, apparently everyone goes crazy.
That's right. It's Sundance. There.
And we shot our scene in I think 5 minutes.
Yep, I believe it was 2 takes max.
Yep. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
And 5 minutes.
It was 2 takes. You did fantastic. And a good friend of ours, Sebastian, played your agent.
That's right. And I had just met him the day before.
Right.
I knew him, at least. That was fun.
But that was and then that was it. And then you were gone and I was gone.
That's right. We were gone. Yeah. Next morning I was like, oh, that's so funny. I was in a movie last night.
And then
my mates were like, what? Like, yeah, I was in a feature last night.
Yeah, I shot some scenes for a movie last night at a party at Sundance. And you're not the only one. RB, who also plays a part in the movie, RB Bato, he had the exact same thing. He was in another party and he actually kept telling me, I gotta go shoot a movie. And they're like, you've got a screening? What? Like, no one understood. Like,
right. He was like, no, I'm actually in a movie.
What? Like, no one got it. And then I send you the trailer and you're like, oh my God, it's a real movie.
It looks so good. I am so blown away that you shot that in 36 hours. I can't even believe it.
It was done quickly, without question. It was an experience. So, but thank you again for being in the movie. And it was an absolute thrill to work with you for those 5 minutes.
Well, thank you for having me. I loved every minute of it. It was super fun. And I can't wait to see your finished movie.
So how did you get into the film, into the movie, how did you get into the business in the first place?
So I moved to LA in end of 2001 to be an actor. Mm-hmm. And the first audition I had when I got to LA was for The Room.
No.
Yes, the very first audition. I responded to an ad in Backstage West and, sent my headshot in. They called Greg Sestero was doing the casting, who ends up playing Tommy's best friend in the movie. So he called me and I went to the set, auditioned, and so that was the first, movie I was in when I got to LA.
So literally off the turnip truck, you get straight to The Room casting.
What are the odds?
I mean, like that's like the first thing off. Literally, you get off the bus. It's like, oh, let's just go over to The Room. The craziest experience of your life. You literally, the timing couldn't have been better.
I was
or worse, depending how you look at it.
I know it could not have. It's like a combination of the two, both best and worst thing to ever happen.
Now, what was the casting process like for The Room?
It was insane. I mean, if you've seen the movie The Disaster Artist, they capture it pretty well.
Okay.
I came to the set. It was broad daylight. There were a ton of people there, and Tommy had us stand in front of a camera, and he was like, "Okay, now your best friend just died. Go." And then he'd want you to be like, oh my God, and wailing with tears. And then 30 seconds later, he'd say, you just won the lottery, go. And then you're supposed to be like, oh my God. And then if you didn't switch on a dime, he'd be like, what's wrong with you? Your best friend died. You have no heart,
Wow.
And that's how it went. So it was a miracle that anybody got cast, and that I don't know. I mean, I think I got cast because I showed up first to the audition. I was the first one there, and I talked to Tommy one-on-one, and he just asked me a bunch of questions about myself. And then at the end of the conversation, he was like, okay, I think I cast you. And I'm like, do you want me to audition or?
So you didn't audition?
I actually did. I did audition. So more people showed up, and then I did the standard audition with everybody else. I read The Chocolate is a Symbol of Love scene with Greg Ellery, who ends up playing Steven. And then I did the whole chicken, act like a chicken. That's one of the things I throw in that Tommy said. Your best friend just died. You won the lottery, act like a chicken. And so I did all that. And so I did audition, but I'm still convinced that the actual reason I got it was because I was the first one there.
So, I mean, this is your first big Hollywood audition. And I use that term very loosely.
Yes.
Very, very loosely. You have no other auditions to kind of refer back to? So
I lived
Go ahead.
in Chicago, and I'd auditioned there,
right.
But none in LA.
Right. So no LA auditions for you to kind of go back to. How many people on the, as far as the cast were concerned, were kind of newbies in the sense, like have maybe done one thing or two, but didn't seem that anybody was like super, super seasoned other than the mother, except I think.
Oh yeah. The mother maybe, but every last person was super new. I mean,
you had to be.
I think to agree to do The Room, you probably had to be pretty naive. I just thought no one would ever see it. I knew it was bad.
Oh, so you knew, so you went,
no one will ever see it.
Did you read it? Was there a script?
No, he wouldn't show us the script. There was a script, but he would not show it to the actors because, I quote Tommy, "You're just going to try to steal it." So he thought we were going to steal it. And so he wouldn't share the whole script. So we'd get like 3 pages and then he'd say, okay, you're going to shoot these 3 pages tomorrow. And we'd get it a lot of the day of, or maybe the day before. And we'd have to just memorize those lines. And I never knew where the scene fell in the context of the entire movie or the narrative. Had no idea which scene came first, which scene came second. Like, that's why it was so hard to give any kind of character arc or anything.
Which was interesting because now that makes so much more sense when you watch The Room, because there doesn't seem to be like a beginning, middle, or arc or anything. It's just like you as actors have no idea what's going on. You're just kind of thrown into a scene and like act. Like, what happened before? Did I get shot before? Did my mother die before? Like what's and that's every scene is like that. Which you have to argue is quite genius if that's what you're going for.
If you're going for total confusion on the part of the actors and characters in every scene.
And also crew as well and everybody else as well.
Yeah.
Now, how was the crew while you were working, and how long were you actually on the set, meaning shooting on production?
I was there for a few weeks. I came in, I was a mid-season replacement. Juliet, who plays Lisa, was originally Michelle, and the first 3 Lisas quit. And
I wonder why.
I know, surprise, surprise. I think it was when they realized they'd have to do a love scene with Tommy, and they were like, "Okay, I'm out of here." So Lisa was playing Michelle. She moved to Lisa, and then they needed to fill the Michelle character's spot. So that's when they did additional auditions, and that's when I came in and filled in the spot.
Oh, so they were already shooting. They were already shooting when you did your audition.
Exactly. They had already shot for a couple months.
And how long was the final? Like, was it 6 months shooting? A year shooting? How long did they shoot?
I think it was like 6 months. Yeah, I remember in the Disaster Artist even they characterized that it's like it just kept going.
It just kept going and going, and the money always was there. He just always had the money.
Yeah, it was like a bottomless well of money. And there's 3 different crews. When I was there, and I was only there for a few weeks. There were, I think, at least 2 or 3 crews that were different crews. They would quit and then a whole new crew would show up because they would, so they kept quitting. They were a professional crew and I guess they just got fed up with stuff.
Yeah, they were an LA crew. They were an LA crew that was like, okay, we'll deal with this for a day or 2, but this is enough. We can't take this anymore. Because I'm assuming it wasn't the most professional set on the planet.
No. That's a good assumption.
To say the least. And what was Tommy's directing style like? If you could call it that.
Yeah, if you can call it that. Well, let's see. Like for the season with Juliet where we have that pillow fight.
Right.
I remember, I don't know if you remember that scene.
I remember all the scenes.
Okay. So I had just met her literally like 20 minutes before. And we're on the set and we're just talking, we're doing the scene. He goes, "You don't even seem like you know each other. You're best friends. Why don't you have a pillow fight? Girls have pillow fights. That's what girls do."
Yes, they do.
So Juliet and I are like, yeah, right. That's what we do. We have drink wine and beat each other with pillows. So we just, that he directed us to do that pillow fight. You probably remember that. Mm-hmm. And, other than that, a lot of times he was actually in it. And so whenever he was in the scene, it was hard for him to direct.
Right.
So that's where that whole controversy comes in about the script supervisor, Sandy Sclair.
Sure.
Directing The Room, which he would help for sure. He would help Tommy when Tommy was in scenes, like tell Tommy where to go and help with blocking and stuff like that.
But at the end of the day, do you want that credit?
I know. I don't get that. I don't get that.
That, like, if you are the ghost director of The Room, do you want to be known as the ghost director of The Room? Like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense because, I mean, everyone can. The reason it's bad is because of Tommy. I mean, it's just.
Oh no, the reason why it's good and bad is because of Tommy. It's 100% Tommy. It is
good and bad, exactly.
Because there's things in it like, I mean, you just. I mean, well, first of all, obviously, all women, when they're in their 20s, have pillow fights and drink wine, obviously.
Uh-huh.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now, back to the show.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Every last woman.
Every last woman. It's part of the DNA. So the best example of the best explanation of Tommy ever is, as a director, I've heard was, imagine an alien comes down to Earth, takes over a body, and then this is the movie it thinks that would be a movie that other Earthlings would enjoy.
That's good. Yeah.
And I was like, because it's such a look. We've all seen bad movies. We've all seen bad movies. I mean, Troll. I saw Troll 2, and I think a little bit of my soul left me. I like the documentary about the Troll 2, which is amazing, much better than the movie. But we've seen bad movies. There've been bad movies throughout history. Ed Wood movies. I mean, forever. But there's something so magical about this movie, and it's hard to pinpoint it. But from my analysis, and maybe I'd love to hear what you think, why people react the way they do to it, it's that it is authentically Tommy. There is nothing bullshit about the movie. He is not trying to be. It's authentic.
Yeah, it fully embodies Tommy. It just is everything that Tommy is.
And the authenticity, you can literally come off, because if I would go to try to direct a bad movie, like horribly bad, as you know, you would smell it. Like, oh, this is a guy who's just trying to make a bad movie. We've seen those movies before, like Sharknado. Like, you know, they know what they're doing. They know this is a bad movie. They know it's ridiculous. They're just having fun.
It's a self-awareness there.
But Tommy has absolutely no self-awareness and thought he was making Citizen Kane.
Yeah, and that is, you're right, why it is so magically bad. Because it's so earnest.
Yes.
And there's such an effort to be good.
Yes.
And it fails so spectacularly that is deeply, I don't know why it sounds sadistic, but that is deeply funny.
It is. It's just, it fails on so many levels. Like when we were watching it that night before we shot the scene, everybody was there like, why is there another shot of San Francisco? What's going on? Why is that there? Oh my, like all my professional filmmaking friends who had never seen this, they're all sitting there going, after like 20 minutes, they get it. And there's some people in the audience that did not get it. Like, this is just horrible. I can't watch this.
Yeah.
But the people who got it, they jumped on the ride and were just like completely on board. And that's the kind of movie it is. But it's a fascinating character study. And I think The Disaster Artist did a really interesting job with that relationship and with Tommy and all of that. What did you think of The Disaster Artist?
I really liked it. I thought it was hilarious. And I thought James Franco did a really good job at capturing Tommy. I mean, midway through, I forgot I was even watching James Franco. It seemed like Tommy. And I thought they captured the friendship and the story really well. And it balanced a lot of, humor with pathos and like sincerity. And I thought it was great. Yeah,
I loved it. And then when we were sitting down talking for a few minutes, you said that the Disaster Artist got a few things that they took some creative license with. What are the things that were kind of different between The Disaster Artist and reality?
Yeah, the very end when everyone's cheering in the theater at the premiere of The Room, that didn't happen. That absolutely didn't happen.
The phenomenon did not start off with a bang. It was a slow burn.
It's a slow burn. I think people obviously cheer now, but at the screenings of The Room, but people were laughing, certainly, but it was people trying to contain their laughter in the theater because they knew Tommy meant it to be a searing drama. And instead it was a laugh out loud comedy. I was sitting 2 rows or a row behind Tommy and I was trying so hard to contain my laughter, but I ended up crying. I was crying with laughter because, when you try to stop laughing, it gets even worse.
Right.
And so a lot of people were like that. Like we were really trying not to seem like we were laughing, but we all were. And then after that, after the movie, there was a party and everyone was just awestruck. Like our jaws were on the floor and we were looking around like, oh my God, what was that?
Right.
And I didn't approach Tommy because I just knew I couldn't lie believably.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to, I didn't want to say that was amazing or.
Did he feel it? Did he understand that it was not well received, or was he still in delusional world?
That night of,
yeah,
I don't know for sure. I feel it because I feel like it didn't go well from his perspective too.
Okay.
Like he must have heard the chuckles. I don't know. He must have. But okay, so in The Disaster Artist, when he and Greg go to the lobby and they discuss it, and Greg's character is like, you made something that people aren't enjoying. Listen to them. They're loving it. Then they go back in there and then I don't believe that happened that night. Perhaps it did a week later, a couple of weeks later.
Sure.
But yeah, it took a little while to kind of reframe the narrative or
reframe the situation in general.
Yeah.
What was the reaction of the other actors that you saw? Were there any that were absolutely pissed? Other people that were just could not stop laughing, thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread? What are the reactions? And you don't have to use their names, but just what are the reactions of some of the other actors?
Some of the other actors were devastated.
Oh.
And then others were just like, okay, well, we knew it was going to be bad, but this was really, really bad. For me, it was there were so many things that were really a happy surprise. Like the things I didn't know were in the room that were so funny, like the rooftop scene. I mean, all of the rooftop scenes, like.
But you basically got the joke right away.
My husband and I were dying laughing. And then the next morning we woke up and we were quoting lines to each other from the room. And then we were crying with laughter again. I mean, we were just seriously laying there laughing so hard. We were crying. So for me, I was like, well, I don't think anybody will see this, but if they do, it could get a cult following because it is crazy funny.
So you literally caught that right away. You caught what this could be, and you were basically reacting as a room fan right away off the first screening.
Yes, because I was in so few of the scenes that and I was like, oh yeah, my scenes are fine. I wasn't devastated by the scenes I was in. Mm-hmm. They were totally fine. And I just enjoyed the rest of it, like how crazy it was and how irrational. So yeah, I just thought it was hilarious from the beginning. I mean,
and obviously the pillow scene was the highlight, but
yeah, and the chocolate scene, of course.
Of course. Put your insults in your pocket.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. Now, what is the weirdest thing you saw on the set?
Oh, well, I didn't actually see this, but the makeup artists, I had to get airbrushed every day because Tommy didn't like freckles, and he got airbrushed every day as well, his entire body.
Obviously,
right, because he's got to look flawless on screen. And
the term flawless is a loose word.
Used very within a certain range.
Yes.
of what's doable.
Yes.
So the day they had to do the butt scene, I came back. It was like the next day after they shot the naked butt scene with Tommy,
and they told the belly button.
You will not. Oh, the belly button hump. Although they didn't mention that.
Okay.
I didn't really know about that the recycled sex scene until I saw it on screen.
Right.
So that was a treat. But they said, you will not believe what happened. And I said, what happened? They said, yesterday we had to airbrush Tommy's butt, and then we had to keep touching it up all day long. The poor makeup artist.
Oh my God.
That was the thing I heard about when I came back to the set. But I just, people quit all the time. There was a documentarian following us around all the time on set, filming us behind the scenes. So literally we couldn't even change. He would follow us. There wasn't a changing room for the actors. Mm-hmm. There was just a little tent. And so in order to change, we had to duck behind cars in the Burns and Sawyer parking lot.
Oh, God.
To try to change. And then the documentarian would be following us with his camera. I remember telling him, like, dude, I'm trying to change here. So, yeah, it was great. Very professional.
Because obviously, as he says, his ass is what's going to sell international.
Yes.
Yes.
Does he really well in China?
Yeah, he's huge in China. So, and then you obviously kept living in LA. So when you kept driving by the billboard, what was your feeling when you first saw this billboard?
I was like, that is still up. I can't believe it's still there.
It was like 3 years, right? It was like 2 to 3 years that thing was up. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I think it might have even been 5 years.
Oh my God. The money. Where's the money coming from? No one knows.
No one knows. No one, still to this day, nobody knows where the money came from.
So for anybody who's listening and doesn't know what we're talking about, in LA for 5 years, there was a billboard on, what was it like on, I don't even know, I remember what street it was on.
It was on Highland and Fountain.
So it's a fairly predominant billboard. And it was this shot of Tommy with the room with his number on it to set up screenings. And it just stayed there. It became like this landmark in LA. And everyone was like, what is this room thing? And I remember when I got here in 2008. And when was the room shot?
2002, and it came out 2003.
Right. So by then it had already been 5 years. So it already picked up the cult following at this point, where I walked into a theater and I saw the poster, like midnight showing of the room. And I asked my LA friends, like, what's the room? They're like, oh, you've got to see the room. And that's the way the whole thing went. Like the whole phenomenon of the room worldwide is like, you have to see the room.
Yeah. A lot of it was word of mouth. I mean, I think most of it was word of mouth, but because the word of mouth was so passionate and people who saw it loved it so much, it worked.
And now I'm assuming you've gone to some screenings. I'm assuming you've signed an autograph or two.
Yes.
What is your reaction as going to these screenings? And then have there been any like conventions you've gone to? Like, I mean, sure, comic book conventions or movie conventions or anything like that you've attended?
I haven't gone to any conventions. When I go to the screenings, a lot of times I'll go with a group of friends and we'll dress up. A lot of times I've worn wigs because I like to be a fly on the wall just to see how people react.
Sure.
I've been to a couple screenings in my hometown of Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's been really fun. And I was on the news there, which is crazy.
That's so awesome.
Local affiliate. Talking about being in the worst movie ever made.
Right.
Girl makes good.
In the worst movie ever made, right?
Worst movie ever made. Yeah, great story. One day I'll have something really great I can talk about. But so I love going to the screenings. I love meeting the fans and just seeing how everyone reacts to it. And I enjoy it. And I feel like I get something new out of it every time I go.
And the way you reacted to my actor in my movie as a fan of the room, I'm assuming is the way you react to other fans. Like you were so humble. You were just kind of like, oh, you're a fan. Oh, great. Oh, you want to talk about Tommy? Sure, I'll talk about Tommy. Like, I'm sure this is like a daily basis. Do you get recognized on the streets?
I mean, sometimes I do, but not that much. I live in West LA and I'm like in my area most of the time. Mm-hmm. And I think when I got recognized a couple times at Sundance. And then if I'm off in the Hollywood area, I get recognized more, but because I think there's just more people there who have seen the room.
Sure.
And so it's not like I get recognized that much. Yeah.
Now, at what point did you, because we talked about this a little bit off air, at what point do you accept what this is and go along for the ride as opposed to fight it? Because I'm assuming there were some actors who just wanted to have nothing to do with it. I want my name off of it. I don't want to be involved with this. But you decided to go the other way and like, you know what? This is fun. I'm going to jump on board. When was that moment in your life?
Let's see. 2008, Entertainment Weekly did a 4 or 5 page spread about the room, and I was interviewed for that. And I guess it had been slowly gaining some traction up until that point, and people had been telling me about it. I was in film school mentioning, oh, you know what, a lot of celebrities are becoming fans, and I guess Paul Rudd is a fan, and all, yeah. And I was like, I think it'll just run its course, that's great, but and then when Entertainment Weekly did the full spread, I was like, oh crap, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to go
It's just
away.
growing. It's just growing.
And I think I was sort of out of film school, not really embracing it that much. I just really didn't. I didn't really think about it that much because I was, I wanted to be taken seriously. And I feel like if you advertise that you're in the worst movie ever made, it doesn't really necessarily lend itself to people respecting you.
It's not good for the branding.
Exactly.
Right.
So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to ignore it. It'll go away.
Right.
And that just did not work. And I think I was at a screening in Hollywood and I had a blonde wig on. I was with a bunch of friends. So we were there to have fun. And Michael Cera was in line behind me. Okay. And we went up and we started talking to him. And he's like, well, why are you in a blonde wig? And I said, oh, I just like to be a fly on the wall and kind of not have people know who I am and stuff. And he's like, why not? You should just really embrace it. I mean, this is one of the most fun things there is to do in LA. I like to come, I come here all the time to see the room. And I was like, it's not that I was obviously there, so I wasn't like hiding from it fully, but that was good advice in terms of embracing it because I realized it won't go away. And,
it's like a really bad tattoo.
Exactly.
It's on your face,
right there, front and center.
It's a Mike Tyson tattoo on your face. You're not getting rid of it. It's not going anywhere.
So that's why I decided eventually to do the mockumentary because I write comedy and I had been a comedy writer for a long time. And I just had this idea of wouldn't it be funny if these room actors kept trying to escape it and they couldn't. They could not escape the room, which is basically true. And just exaggerate it and poke fun at it and have fun with the struggle of these actors trying to escape from being in the worst movie ever made and never being able to.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about the movie that you're directing.
Yeah, so it's a mockumentary web series, and it features all of the actors from the movie The Room, 7 out of 9 of us, so Tommy and Greg aren't in it. And it basically follows them as they struggle with either embracing or shaking the stigma of appearing in the worst movie ever made. And most of them are trying to shake it, and they can't. So we just see everyone suffering in their own way. Like Juliet is married to her first stalker, and the stalker basically stalks her around the house, reenacting scenes from The Room. And so that's her life.
Oh, poor thing.
Denny, Philip, who plays Denny in The Room, is working at Denny's because it's the only place where he could get hired. And so Denny, people come into Denny's, they recognize him as Denny from The Room, and they start reciting lines, and then he ends up taking it out on them, and he gets fired. And so every episode features a different. Well, the first 3 episodes feature 2 room actors, and then after that, every episode features 1 room actor.
And then are you in one of these episodes?
Yes,
okay.
I'm in episode 2.
Okay.
And I'm married. I've been married 8 times, and I keep getting divorced because every guy I marry does the room O face behind my back. Which is that face that my boyfriend in the movie makes.
Oh my, that's right. And I'm assuming they always want to do pillow fights.
Oh yeah. That's in my Kickstarter campaign. Got a pillow fight in that.
So you're doing now? Is this a web series or is this going to turn into a full blown document or mockumentary that you'll release as a feature? How are you doing it?
Well, I have 4 episodes done now, and each one's about 8 minutes. So it's about 30 minutes of programming that I've already done, and they're out there. They're on Funny or Die, and they're on YouTube. And then I've got 6 more episodes written and ready to film, and I'm just trying to raise money for those now. I'm about to do a Kickstarter campaign to get the funds to shoot the remaining 6. And it's going to be also on Funny or Die's Amazon platform soon. I'm just signing contracts with them now. Yeah, so that's really exciting. So when it's all said and done, it'll be over 60 minutes of stuff. So I don't have plans to edit it together into a feature or anything. I think I'll just keep it as the web series because there's so many different room actors that kind of fits to just have each episode focusing on 1 or 2 of the room actors.
Now, how did you get everybody to be on? Because so everybody embraced this at this point.
Yeah, I pitched it to Juliet, Kyle, Carolyn, and Greg Sestero when I saw them for a mini documentary Greg was doing about for the book launch of The Disaster Artist. And they were all interested. And, so I said, okay, I'll send you my short that I've written. And at the time, it was just a short 10-minute movie. I sent it to Juliet, and she got right back to me. She's like, oh my God, I love it. Let's do it. We've got to do it. So she was really encouraging and help. It was kind of a catalyst for saying, yes, we should definitely do this. Because I was nervous. I was worried they wouldn't want to make fun of themselves. Or because I have Juliet, she starts out drunk in a bar and she's wearing a sexy red dress and she's hunched over like a drink.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
And I was like, I didn't know if Juliet would want to make fun of just, the fact that she was in this movie, but she was totally game and excited about it.
And what did Greg and Tommy think about all this? And how come they're not in the movie?
So Greg Sestero is super supportive, and he couldn't be in it because he had signed a non-compete agreement when he made the deal with the Disaster Artist.
Oh, okay.
We shot this way before the Disaster Artist came out.
Mm-hmm.
But he was really supportive. So he signed our poster and some of our Kickstarter rewards, and he reposted our original Kickstarter campaign and shared it and stuff. But then Tommy, Tommy he first came to me and he was like, why don't you invite me? I'm like, well, I'm happy to invite you. I'd love to have you. So will you be a part of it? And he was like, well, you have to pay me $250,000. I'm like, yeah. So that's not going to happen. And yeah. So then he gave me a hard time about my Kickstarter campaign. He wanted me to blur out the poster. He wanted me to blur out footballs, roses, chocolates, and spoons, all of which were in my Kickstarter campaign because he owns those.
What do you mean he owns
the rights to spoons?
What do you mean he owns the rights to the spoons? Please, no, you have to let me know. What does that mean?
I'm just joking. He does own the rights to his movie poster, so I did blur that out.
Fair enough.
Then after I did that, he came back and he was like, "Now you blur out the spoons, you blur out the chocolate, you blur out the football, you blur out the roses." I was like, "No,
you don't have copyright." I was like, "He can't have copyrights on those spoons. He can't.
No,
there's no way."
The spoons is a fan thing anyway.
Well, no. Okay. All right. So everybody who has not seen The Room was listening. In the movie, there's framed pictures of spoons.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason in the movie. Do you know what the reason is that? Do you even have any idea? Has anyone ever heard about it? They came with the frames, They were just the standard photos that came in the frames. And I don't know why anybody would sell, because usually you've got a family. Right. I was like, who puts spoons? That's ridiculous. I've never seen one of those.
I've never seen that either, other than The Room, but it worked out beautifully.
Because throughout the movie, there's framed pictures of spoons. So every time the audience sees spoons, they throw plastic spoons at the screen. So for everyone listening,
which is one of the most fun parts of going to a room screening, is throwing those spoons.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was really fun. I was a Rocky Horror Picture Show guy for a long time when I was in high school. I loved going there with the rice and the toilet paper and all the things that you would throw during it. So I'm assuming The Room is the new generation of that.
That's what a couple journalists have called it. They've called it the new Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And it's going to live forever. It's not going to go away. I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
I don't think so either, because I went to a screening and there was a bus of 15-year-olds that had come from the Inland Empire with their parents as a graduation gift to get to ride into Westwood to see a screening of The Room. And
they have to see it here. This is like Mecca. You have to see it in Hollywood in order to see it. It is by far one of the most fascinating Hollywood stories ever. It really is. And I do agree with you. I think The Disaster Artist did it justice. The book was wonderful. I loved the book. I read the book cover to cover. I was just, and as I was reading it, I'm like, no.
It is so funny.
This couldn't have happened. No. And I actually had the pleasure, while I was directing some commercials, I hired a sound guy. His name was Zolt. I don't know if you know who Zolt is. But no. Zolt was one of the audio engineers on The Room.
Oh, wow.
And it went like wildfire on the set that he was the guy who was the sound guy in The Room. And
the sound is great.
It was sound fantastic. And I would just run to him. I'm like, Zolt. First of all, great name, Zolt. Secondly, is it true? He's like, yes, this is all true. Because he has a really thick accent. It's all true. He was a maniac. It was
That's what he said.
He's a maniac. He was fantastic. So how, by the way, since you now worked with all the other actors, how are they doing? What are they doing? How do they venture off into other things of after the room?
Yeah. So Juliet lives in Texas now. She's married and she does graphic design, I believe. And let's see, Kyle is still in LA. He plays Peter in the room. He's still here. He still does acting, and he has a day job, I think, at either Sony or Disney doing their tech, their tech stuff. And then Dan Janjigian lives in Texas also. He is in, I believe, banking or insurance. He seems to be doing pretty well. Philip lives in Arizona. He's a journalist. He just got married like a couple of days ago. Oh, no, like last week.
Okay.
And then Carolyn is here. She lives in the South Bay and she is an actress still. She does commercials and print work and things like that. See, Greg Ellery, he just moved from Illinois back to California, and I'm not sure what he's doing. He was for a while, he just rejected the room. He was a holdout on my show. I had emailed him and he didn't respond about being in it. And I did the Kickstarter campaign without him, but with all the other actors. And finally, I heard back from him saying, okay, I'll be in it. So he ended up being in it. He's awesome. He is a funny guy. So I'm really glad he's in it. And then who else? And then
you now are you're a filmmaker as well as an actress still.
Mainly a writer-director and still an actress. I don't go out. Like, I was a commercial actress for a long time, but I decided to focus mainly on writing and directing, and then I'll put myself in stuff or make my own projects, or if my friends make projects, I'm in theirs. But I was in the room, and then I was right after that, I was in one other bad movie. And I've been in some good movies and some good shorts too, but I thought, especially some in Chicago and then some out here too, that went to great festivals. But after I was in those two bad movies, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do another bad movie. I'm not going to do a movie until I know for sure that it's good, you know? Right. And then right after that decision, I went to film school at UCLA in
not a bad film school. Not a bad film school to go to.
No, I loved it. And studied screenwriting, got an MFA in screenwriting, and then was focusing on writing, and then just recently started directing. And now I'm in a phase where I'm just kind of making a ton of things that I write myself, and then I make, and then I put myself in them. I'm not necessarily the main character, but I throw myself in wherever. And yeah.
Now, you were also in another documentary called Room Full of Spoons. Can you talk a little bit about that doc and the controversy behind it?
Yes. So that was filmed so long. I think I filmed my part in that in 2013. That's 5 years. So that's been in the works for a while. And, he used to have a good relationship with Tommy. His name's Rick Harper, the director of that. And then they had a falling out, and Tommy got mad. And so then Tommy has been very upset about the film, which is a documentary looking at the making of The Room and Tommy's background and where Tommy is from and how Tommy got his money and all of this stuff. They even go to Europe. They go to Eastern Europe, Poland, where Tommy is from, and they interview his family members.
Oh, they found his family?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
No wonder he's losing his mind.
So he was really mad about that. And he got a court injunction to prevent the release of that movie. Tommy did.
So the movie never got released?
Well, apparently the court injunction was lifted. I thought it was back in December. Rick made an announcement on his Facebook page that it had been lifted, but that there were still some legal issues in the way, and I don't think it's been released yet. I know he was going to play at a couple festivals, and Tommy stopped those from happening. So yeah, I was really worried for a while Tommy was going to try to do that with my show, but he hasn't at all. Like, I haven't heard from Tommy at all since that Kickstarter campaign I did back in 2014. So he's been totally fine luckily with my show.
Luckily, because you don't want, it's kind of like, do you want to hear from Tommy or you don't want to hear from Tommy? It's like,
I mean, yeah, Tommy's, if I heard from Tommy and he were nice, I would be happy to hear from Tommy.
Sure.
I just didn't want to hear any threats from Tommy, which he had been, when I first did the Kickstarter, he was threatening me.
A little bit, right.
So, yeah, like the thing about blurring all this stuff out, and then, I will try to take you down from Kickstarter and stuff like that. And I kept saying, look, this isn't about you. It has nothing to do with you. It's about the room actors and what they're doing now. And I think once my show came out, he realized that, and I literally haven't heard a peep.
Right, because you're also not making, you're kind of making fun of it, but you're kind of you're putting gasoline on the fire of the mythos of the room with this movie. You're not kind of trying to go after him personally.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I mean, making fun of all the rest of us. And sure, yeah, there's room jokes. There's a ton of room jokes, but they're designed for room fans. But it's not targeted at Tommy and his background or anything like that.
It's been an adventure, and it's an adventure that will be with you for a while. I don't even know if something like this happened to me. I don't even know how I would have reacted. So I'm so thankful that you came on the show to talk about the inside scoop on the room and your project.
Yeah.
Now, where can people support your project?
I'm about to launch another Kickstarter campaign, and I'll give you the link so that when you air this, hopefully it will have launched.
Yeah.
And that's going to be in a few weeks.
Okay, I'll put the link. If you have the link, you could say it, but I'll put it in the show notes either way.
And I'll also, if you want to watch the show, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to YouTube /Robyn Paris, and you can watch the whole show there, or Funny or Die /Robyn Paris.
Is it okay if I put those in the show notes as well? I could just actually put the clips there so they can watch the whole thing?
That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to watch the first 4 episodes, it'll be in the show notes as well. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions that I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
What advice would you give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today? Obviously not to go for a casting at the room, but
first thing you do is you try to appear in the worst possible movie you can find.
Right, exactly. The worst that will become a cult favorite and will live on in infamy for the rest of eternity. Go ahead.
Your life. Exactly. That's the first thing you do.
Secondly.
Second, well, I guess I would say use what you have in a way, because as a writer, they say write what you know, which to some extent is good. For me, I've been writing about all kinds of things, all kinds of comedy. But what gave me a chance to direct, and I found that I love directing and I want to keep doing it every chance I can get, was taking something that happened in my life and making it funny, something that I actually struggled with, like being in the room, and trying to make it work for me. Yeah. So I would say if you're a filmmaker and you want to get something off the ground, think about what you have to offer in your specific life. Like, what have you lived that you could either poke fun of if you do comedy, or that you could actually just, if you're in drama, that you could bring to life and show a dramatic moment in your life. Write a short, write something that you can pull from your own life. And then when you either do a crowdfunding, you can speak from personal experience. You can say, this is why I'm doing this. And you have like a real passion for the reason, your motivation for why you're doing it. And I think people will respond to that and will help you by being on your crew or giving you some money through crowdfunding, or your, family, because it's something they know you care about. Mm-hmm. And I guess I would just say, just do it, because I think there's a lot of fear involved with putting yourself out there and kind of just taking a step in a direction you've never gone before. And I think just for me, I faced a lot of fear with when I did this project. Are people going to think this is stupid, or are they just going to be like, oh, you're just an actor from the room. Like, what do you think you can do this, Right. But I think you have to face that fear. You really have to, and the way you can face it is by just taking a step in the direction every day to face it.
Right, and at the end of the day, you have to walk your own path and not pay attention to what other people think, or be free of the good opinion of others, as they say, in many ways.
Yeah, 100%. Don't trust yourself. If you think something is great and you can make it great, believe in that.
I mean, it worked for Tommy.
You know what? It is weird because it did.
It did. No, he got everything he wanted. I mean, he literally got everything he wanted.
He did.
He wanted to be worldwide famous. He wanted to be taken seriously by Hollywood, which in a kind of way he did with the Golden Globes. You know, he almost got it for the Oscars as well, but and he did. It was nominated for Best Screenplay.
For an Oscar. And now he was in these other two movies, Best Friends, Part 1 and Part 2, which he's getting decent reviews for. People are saying, Tommy's actually good in this. If there's a role written for him, he's really good.
Right. So he can't stretch. But if you hit it down the middle with Tommy, you're going to get something good.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like working with him on set, like as a director, trying to direct Tommy Wiseau. Oh my gosh!
You could hire him.
I'm sure $250,000.
$250,000, yeah.
He show up anywhere. $250,000. That's my really bad Tommy impression.
Mine's horrible too.
Can you tell me what book had the biggest impact on your life or career?
Or career. Wow. Let's see. I really love this. Is so like, you know, school literature AP class or something, but I really love The Great Gatsby.
It's a great book.
I loved it, and I read it a couple times. I don't think I fully got it when I was younger and I read it, and then I read it later as an adult. And I guess what I like is the striving and the desire to be more than you are, because that's what I find relatable. And I just feel like, for me, like, I mean, I came to Hollywood. I had dreams of, I'm going to be in the filmmaking industry, and I had no connections. I mean, my dad's a dentist. Like, my parents are all back in North Carolina. Nobody knows. We know nobody. You know. Right. And I kind of just felt like with The Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, that character of just trying to kind of come to some place where you don't really fit, and trying to make a name for yourself. That was relatable to me, and it's kind of a sad, you know, but like, and hopefully that's not, you know, it's, for me, my life, I think, is good, and, you know, things are going great and I'm really excited, but there's something about how challenging I think it is in Hollywood to kind of make your way sometimes.
It's extremely challenging. It really is, but you have to keep like Gatsby, you have to keep striving.
Yeah.
You have to keep striving no matter what. And just keep hustling, as I say all the time. Got to keep that hustle going without question.
Yeah, totally. And I think things are going to work out better than they did in the book.
Exactly.
That's sort of a downer.
And if that's a spoiler alert, guys, I'm sorry. The book's been out for a little bit, so that's on you.
Right.
And there's been a few movies as well.
Oh, sorry. Cut that out.
Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film business or in life?
Yeah, I think in life, I guess the film business too, not worrying about what people think. And we touched upon that before. And also not feeling that I think I should have tried directing earlier, but I always thought that no one will listen to me. I thought, why would they listen to me? Why would a whole crew of people?
I get that. You have no idea how much I get that from people who contact me. They're like, how do you handle like a group of people? I'm like, I go either if it's a guy or a girl, I go, guys, you've got to be able to control, not control, but take command of the army, of your squad. Because if you don't, you won't be able to make it. And unfortunately, you picked a career that takes a group effort to make. It's not painting. It's not, writing a song in a guitar. It's a very expensive, very collaborative art form.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And if you don't believe in yourself, then it's very hard, I think, to command the respect of a crew. And for me, it took me a while to get there. And now I feel like I'm fully there. Like I totally believe in myself. But, sure. And I think I had kids also. And I think having kids and like telling everybody what to do all the time was just helpful for me to just learn how to treat. Like I kind of feel like a crew is, maybe it also took me getting older.
Yes.
And I think you just get maturity when you get older and you know how to handle things better. But I feel like I treat a crew, not in a condescending way, but kind of like, we're all family. We're a family on a set, and we need to all collaborate and listen and work together well and respect each other. Mm-hmm. But the respect each other is really important. And that means no attitudes, no complaining, that kind of thing. I just don't tolerate that,
So if an actor comes up and goes, pay me $250,000, that's not working?
Right. Yes. That's just not going to fly. It happens all the time. Right.
Now, what are 3 of your favorite films of all time? Obviously, besides The Room.
Okay. Yeah. Besides The Room, because that's a given, right? Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie.
Love that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah. I love the trilogy. I love the trilogy in general.
Yeah, me too. I love the third one also a ton. E.T., I don't know, it's so great. Mm-hmm.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
And so I have a lot of comedies that I like. But one of the very first comedies I ever saw, and I just made me want to be a screenwriter, I think, was Tootsie, or just made me want to be in entertainment.
Sure.
Tootsie. I love cross-dressing movies. I love Mrs. Doubtfire too.
Mrs. Doubtfire, Some Like It Hot.
I love Some Like It Hot. The first script I ever wrote, the first feature I ever wrote were these 2 women who dress as male talent managers, 2 struggling actresses who dress as male talent managers in order to manage their own careers.
That sounds familiar. There was a movie that did, I don't know if it was a gag or something. I remember something like that. Not too, but maybe an episode of Friends. Who knows?
Yeah. It's something. But you rarely see women dressed as men in movies.
No, you don't. No.
Around.
Right. Generally, it's always the other way around. But Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Tu Wong Fu.
I haven't seen Tu Wong Fu. Okay.
Oh, you have to watch Tu Wong Fu. As I'm laying out all the cross-dressing movies of the last 50 years, my audience is like, Alex, I had no idea you have. I just know them. You just know them. I just know them. Don't ask why.
Right.
Now, where can people find you and your work?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So robynparis.com, and Robyn's with a Y. Mm-hmm. And then theroommockumentary.com is where I have information about the show. And then I'm at Robyn O. Paris on Twitter and at Robyn O. Paris on Instagram and official Robyn Paris on Facebook. If you want to like me there or whatever, follow or all that stuff,
I know it's weird. It's weird. I know
it is weird.
It's weird. It's been like, can I tweet you? I'm like, I can't stand doing that. I can't stand when anyone says, can I tweet? I'm a grown adult. And I'm saying tweet.
I know. It's tweet.
It's the weirdest thing for me still, but I get it. It's the world that we live in today. Robyn, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for being so honest and raw about your experience in honestly the best movie ever made. Without question. And the pillow scene alone is worth the price of admission for anybody.
That's right. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Thank you so much, Robyn. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Alex. I really appreciate it too.
I want to thank Robyn again for coming on and just being so kind with her time and talking about The Room again, that she's probably talked about that movie just in nauseum for the last 10 years. So Robyn, thank you so much for being on. And guys, if you are fans of The Room, you've got to watch her mockumentary series. I have 2 episodes in the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/244, 2 finished episodes so you can watch what she did, and hopefully help her with her Kickstarter campaign to finish off the series. It's super fun, and if you're a fan of The Room, you've got to watch it. So thanks again, Robyn. And if you haven't already, guys, head over to filmmakingpodcast.com and leave a good review for the show. It really, really does help us out a lot. Just do it on your iPhone, do it on your computer, on your laptop, on your iPad, wherever you can get to the show. Please just leave us a good review, and 5 stars would be really, really helpful and help us be found by more and more filmmakers so this information can get out to them. And as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.